You've heard it in the news. Brooms are what's sweeping the nation. And while you're busy sweeping all your troubles away, shills and con men the world over are hard at work sweeping those troubles right back to you with the spread of misinformation. But Bill's word sounds just as good as Paul's, you say. How can I possibly discern what's true and what isn't, you may ask. Well, fret not, my dear skeptic. We at the old-timey news station have created a foolproof test that you can employ to sift through all the opinions and hogwash out there to uncover the facts. Here are some of the ways that you, yes, you, can uncover the red flags of bad science. In order to protect yourself in this sea of fake science and twisting words, you're going to need some pretty heavy armor. The best set on the market is in fact not of the body, but of the mind. It's called the scientific method. This method of inquiry is something I think you'll find quite natural, as it's a very simple and logical process we apply to most anything and everything that we don't quite comprehend. First, you ask yourself a question. Are rocks edible? Now that you've got a question that needs answering, you proceed to do some background research on the topic. Surf the web, hit the books, see if there's a world of stone-based cuisine you haven't quite tapped into just yet. In your quest to arm your mind and research your topic, you'll want to understand the difference between primary, secondary, and tertiary resources. A primary source is simply directly from the original scientists themselves. In our case, a man who ate a rock and reported about it in his own writings. A secondary source might be someone who read these writings from the man who ate the stone and then reported their interpretations and hypotheses in their own writing. While a tertiary source would be something like an encyclopedia, a vast wealth of information that all generally relates to the same topic, perhaps a Boulder holiday cookbook. Now that we understand the difference between the different kinds of sources we might find while researching our question, we're ready to move on to step 3, constructing a hypothesis. Now that we've asked ourselves a question and done some research on the question, we can begin to form ideas about a possible answer to the question, such as, well, based on the findings of my research, I'm not sure that rocks are actually all that edible. Now comes step 4, testing our hypothesis through means of an experiment. This experiment is crucial, as the results can provide a definitive answer to our original inquiry if performed carefully and properly. The staple of any good experiment is something that provides consistent results, so that other scientists may reproduce your experiment and test your hypothesis themselves. With our example, you may find biting directly into the rock isn't quite the best idea. You may crush the rock into smaller and more swallowable pieces if you like, but in the end, you'll find this gravel will cut up your throat and prove to give no nutritional value. This leads us into our final stages, analyzing the data of our experiments and drawing conclusions based off this empirical data. After a week of eating rocks and analyzing changes in your bloodstream and all the various internal injuries you've probably caused, you may recognize that rocks are simply not edible. For the final step, you report on these findings. Write a report, distribute it to peers who may review your work and enhance its legitimacy. Congratulations there, scientist! You've just made the world a little bit smarter in terms of culinary do's and don'ts. Well, look at you, seeming more confident and ready to recognize the red flags of bad science than ever. Why don't we put that confidence and some of the knowledge from the previous section to the test with an example of some bad science? The chart you see here before you was presented as evidence in a 2015 hearing in an effort to defund Planned Parenthood. in which the chairman of the United States House Oversight Committee questioned the president of Planned Parenthood in regards to a decline in cancer screening and preventative services at their centers, in contrast to a sharp incline in abortion services. Looks like a pretty clear chart. Case closed, am I right? Wrong! Let's put on our skeptic hats and monocles and take a closer look, shall we? In any case, the first thing we want to verify is the source that's bringing us the information being used. If we take a look into the bottom right corner, we see that the source for this chart was AUL, Americans United for Life, an anti-abortion organization who vehemently opposes Planned Parenthood. Sounds like a possible case of bias to me. Next, let's take a look at how the chart itself has been put together. A basic scatter plot should have a title. Okay, looks like we've got one of those. It should also have, here we are, some basic data plotted on the graph to show the change over a period of time. And the two most important parts, we have here our x-axis, which is to represent how long of a period such a change occurred over. And, what's this? No y-axis to show an accurate scale of the quantity of our data? Bingo, boys, call the cavalry, this pony show is over. With no y-axis, there's no real way to accurately plot the data points and show the actual quantitative value of them. Given that the cancer screenings number begins at 2 million and ends at 900,000, that line should not be the same as the abortion line, which is only moved between 290,000 and 320,000. Yet, they're practically the same line in terms of incline and range. An accurate presentation of the same numbers with a clear x and y axis would look something more like this. This definitively shows that while, yes, cancer screenings and preventative services have gone down, abortion services have remained remarkably stagnant in number, meaning there isn't any real cause for believing that there is a correlation between the two. We at the old-timey news station plotted this graph ourselves by using the numbers pulled directly from the Planned Parenthood's public annual reports. While the chairman of the House Oversight Committee did use the right numbers, he represented them in a way that fit his agenda and painted a picture that simply wasn't there. Not today, bad science. Not today. So what on earth does any of this mean? Well, in a day and age where shills, conmen, and fraudsters run amok, spreading their versions of fake science and false information around the world, you need to be armed with the know-how to deal with these punks. By employing the scientific method and learning to recognize some of the red flags of bad science, you too can be a true and mighty skeptic. Always ask questions, friends. The worst thing that you will find is the truth. From all of us here at the old-timey news station, thank you, and good night.